Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. And we have a few questions. I think I'll start. There's a question here that says, what does it mean to be spiritual? To me, that question has a multiplicity of answers. If you look at the community itself, there's a whole bunch of different ways of looking at this. One is that you belong to some kind of recognized church, whether that church is in one of the major 5 or 6 churches on our planet. Another is that a look at things from a metaphysical point of view, / spiritual, whereas if you have various things that are detectable by others that are, let's say, involved with extra sensory perception of some kind, then some recognize that as a spiritual perspective. Others don't. If you look at things from a point of view that where your relationship with you is doing the very best you can with your fellow human beings, being respectful and kind, and trying to be helpful in your own version of whatever that means, then you are considered by some to be a spiritual person. As you can see, there's a lot of different perspectives. There's also a new age a kind of thing where also if you have extra special things that you can do, or you have knowledge of various things that have been in the past and maybe in a present considered spiritual, then you would call yourself spiritual. And that there's a potpourri of individual things that could be classified in that department. I have a tendency personally to think of being spiritual as attempting to engage the best you can with life, and actually recognizing that you can't be perfect, and realizing that there is something beyond or within us that has not been perfectly defined, but we can define that as spirit or energy or consciousness or anything of that nature. But it doesn't necessarily have to be recognized as, in terms of an individual, as the individual is more important than other individuals. I tend not to think that way. And purposefully, I think, because it can get away on us as individuals, as people, period, because we're constantly searching for a sense of importance, a sense of value, because of the latent insecurities that we have within us. Every single person, don't care who it is. There is something, many things that we are vulnerable about. Often it's just simple thing, just being cared for, loved, period, and understood um, listen to, one could say, even if there's not much to listen to, one could assess it. Doesn't matter. Just taken in by the community in some way, whatever community you belong to. So, this business of what does it mean to be spiritual is defined by many in many different ways. And you can have people of the same religious background or common background who don't agree with each other, and then they don't call them spiritual, even if they believe in similar things, but not exactly in the same way. It's very, let's say, flexible in the minds of most people. I would like, personally, um, to include an awareness of higher states, but I'd have to put in brackets, each and every one of us has a link with higher states. To try and let go of the concept of judgment based on how people think one thing is more important than another in relationship to a thing we call spiritual. It's my understanding that once you become more aware of that higher state, you can begin to perceive others with that same awareness. Then, once again, even though they're not extra special, they're beings who have become aware. But they are attempting to be helpful to others and help them become aware. I would call that kind of spiritual. However, each and every person, whether they believe in anything related to a religious or philosophical background that individually we deem is more important than any other, each individual, if they are attempting to be helpful to others, I would say that's an act of becoming or being spiritual. Of course, individually, we each of us make up our own minds about what that is. I think the key thing in that is there is a sense of personalized freedom to do that. It doesn't mean whatever you make up your mind happens to be a perfect answer or not, although you might dictate that it might be. But the relationship that you have with others is not often seen by others, meaning they may be truly trying to be helpful and you may not notice it that way because there's a configuration of relationship that is diagnostically noted by each individual based on their internal training. In other words, the way they were brought up and the whole stream of how you should be acting with others, and why that should be that way versus some other way. It's a dilemma. However, each of us have a growing engagement with understanding this dilemma. It relates, again, to loving. Loving not as seen only in a personalized way, but more in a broad engagement with you as a human being a human being, beginning to recognize that you love yourself exactly the way you are. And no one should interfere with that, you say. You then use that construct or personality, attire, to engage with others the way you believe you should be doing that. Not really understanding, as none of us perfectly do, where you fit in that construct of engaging with spirit every day, using that flow energy to engage with others based on the rightness of how you believe you think you need to do that so that you handle your vulnerabilities. If you didn't have those loving images that you portray daily, with or without your knowledge, and repeat them with, and that's called practicing them, one could say, and then you construct a form and have constructed a form which you defend. You use that spiritual flow to do exactly that. Now, it loves us so much that it will let us do that, at least to some degree, so we can learn by watching us that this may not be as helpful as we think it is, even though it suits and comforts our vulnerabilities to some degree. This is a really difficult subject because it includes our relationship. And this includes kind of the next question that I would be trying to tackle, and that's a question by Carol Martin in Tennessee, in relationship to how we engage with the practiced regime of expression. Patterns, yes, patterns. Ways of acting, yes, ways of acting. Need to act this way or that way, simply because if we don't, we do not understand. We do not understand that we're not loving ourselves if we don't continually do ourselves the way we believe we need to. Dilemma in this, and the wonderful thing about doing this is it's twofold. So what begins to happen is you begin to create a small gap as you are conscious of what you're doing. Where if you're practicing attempting to perceive that flow, you begin to notice energy within you or around you. Now, this is not the prescribed energy construct that you create imaginarily when you see a person and you like the way they look, or how they do things, or how they treat you, or how they engage literally with life in a kind of a manner that, from your perspective, covers the definitions that lie within you of a person that should be spiritual. I'm trying to blend both of these questions because they're attached to each other. So in doing this, recognizing that you act in certain ways, you will miss some. Now, this is not about changing your whole personality and making it right or good or this or that. It's more about, my goodness, this is how I tend to engage with life. Attempting to soften down the righteousness in it or the rightness in it, or the negation that you might have with it, feelings of restriction that you might feel upon yourself by attempting to do something slightly different than you could before. And then there's the repetition. No one does something without thinking that the thing that they do is valuable to them, but they're not thinking that way necessarily, or asserting. They're noticing the reflection of the past within them, or what you have garnered together, set up as an important way to be. This is what we all do. The push to see others as not so constructive in the way they act is the inability to recognize that we have probably done something similar, if not in this life, definitely in others. If you can handle this concept of a multiplicity of lives going on through time, so that you can actually learn and perceive that universal flow, or flow of life that operates within you for the purpose, again, of helping others. This one is a difficult one to swallow, but nonetheless, if you can understand that, maybe a piece of it, then you begin to understand that it's okay for you to learn by making mistakes. It's okay for you to learn by not making mistakes. And to notice that each and every individual believes they're not making a mistake in the way they function. In a way, it's funny. In a way, it's sad. In a way, it's not that funny. And sometimes it's just a recognition, without judgment, without the need to feel guilt or shame. Doesn't mean we're not going to feel it. But the need is garnered or created by us in a subtle manner, so that we can understand there may be something else that we could do. But those things are a part of us as we do them. And it relates to making your way through a level of expression, or perhaps a movement towards becoming conscious of the fact that we do these things continually for our own particular purposes. They're in a kind of a sleeve. They're cultivated by observation. Could be parental. It's either alignment with, or an observational view of what we believe things are like, or movement against what we think we saw in our parental background. We often do this counter movement all the time. And the need to value an engagement with what you believe has to be true for the moment, but nonetheless intensely valued Otherwise, you lose your sense of self-worth. I remember Lee Martin asked a question about self-worth a number of months ago, and how difficult it is to understand the relationship that we have with worthiness and value, and how community insists, relatively speaking, on some level of that, whatever that community is involved with. Various different communities have, and whatever community you're involved with has to say about what that thing is. Yet, at the same time, not necessarily internally following exactly, perfectly, a perfect way of living, because it's just not what a human being is. I often talk about the idea of becoming aware of that flow of energy that moves through us all. And I talk about the chakras or Sephiroth or fireballs or however it is described on our planet. And what we look at there is ideation. And what I'm talking about is experience. Someone said to me one time, Ron, you try to explain something about 15 different ways. Of course, there's 8 billion people on this planet. We don't know them all. We barely know ourselves. And if there is a unifying unit of anything on our planet, it's the energetic flow that operates through us all. Science is beginning to talk about something like that, but they're not talking about it in a religious manner. They're talking about it more in a generalized manner that can be tooled. In other words, they're making tools, valuable tools, that can perceive cellular structure and the energy involved with cellular structure. That's fine. All we're talking about is a relationship that you have within yourself. One kind is you love the way you do things. The opposite, you don't love the way you do things, but you keep doing them. You keep doing them because actually you really do love them. Bear with me. They have been practiced as a defensive measure for the purpose of handling how you felt inside as you were growing up in life, trying to understand and cultivate a broader recognition of life and how it was and how it is, and then making sense of it in a certain kind of a way all the way along the ages of your life, no matter how old you are. You don't start thinking about this stuff normally, although some have, until you get into about, there's a pivotal age, someplace between 28 and 35 or 40, and there's a bit of a bingo, like a flip. People are starting to say, what am I doing this job for? Why am I in that? Why, this kind of thing. Or they may not be doing that. They may have already jumped into an idea that is very important to them, and well, they should. Because that's where they believe things are. And that is a belief, and that's fine. But you're in a relationship when you're dealing with spirituality, with a state of consciousness that may be similar in each and every one of us. Sometimes the word hyphenated life force, you can call it, could call it, and maybe it has many levels. I presume that it does. I presume because it seems to be that way. But that's only my perception. The hope is that you engage and attempt to continue to engage with that flow the best you can. You'll hit places where you will actually say, oh, okay, well, I can say that because it seemed to be what I would say. Is this what that is? That doesn't make any sense. How is it helping me? Why is it doing this? The questions are valuable. The determination to profoundly judge, not so valuable, because when you judge, you only have one answer, the one you like. Consider answers beyond the one you like. Might be helpful. However, it might give you a little bitter taste in your mouth and say, well, yeah, well, it still is the one I like. Well, then you have to maintain that one you like. You define spirituality in the way that makes sense to you because you value you already. You are in love with you. This is a small thing to try to understand. Not so much. Could be a big thing. When you notice that, then you start wondering whether you are in love with these particular things about you because you start practicing them more often. The reason why you do that is so you can begin to see them. There is a great internal hope within that flow, or you could say belief. I'll say hope, that you become like it. In 8 billion people plus, that flow is there. No judgment, nothing, just noting. We on these planes do our judging because we need to. It gives us reassurance that we're okay. We don't know that we're already okay. We have to have other people telling us that. It's not always true, but it's often true. And when they don't, then we reinforce those things that we believe need to be reinforced because we believe they're just not noticing us in the right way. This is just a normal thing. There's no negation in that. It's a kind of a fear that you're not loved as much as you need to be. Because if you were, you would feel like that, or like this, or like this, or like that. If too much love comes to you that is different than the love that you believe that you, without knowing or knowing, that you need to have in a certain way to feel comforted, then you're truly not loved at all. It's not really love. You know what love is, and that's how you love you. This is very difficult because mostly we're unaware of this stuff. I think I've touched on that. It's still involved with spirituality, and we're still talking about love. Carol says, "I see." Let me start from the first. I have a question about, or two, about our habitual reactions. And this is for all of us. I'm not sure how to put it. When I notice some responses, I see they were from the past and possibly built on misunderstanding. Welcome to all of us, Carol. Many young type reactions are just repetitions built on misperceptions of danger. Yeah, we've talked about this one before. Not always physical, but danger of being overlooked, for example. A really profound example. Not noticed. The old tradition was you weren't good enough to be in history. That's very, very old, and we're not going to talk about that too much. But it seems that if I can recognize the somewhat false nature of the beginning of the habit, that I could ease out of it. It seems. We just talked about that. You'll have a sense that you can actually do that. But remember, you love those responses because they have been a part of you. It's the same for all of us. This is key. I'm talking about everybody here. Not negating it is vital. Recognizing it leaves a gap. Whoa. Oh, I see. I'm like that sometimes. Right in that gap. When you stop there, there's a small little silence. Right in the middle of that gap. If you could try to be aware, above your head, behind you, all around you, and see if you could notice that energy within your body and just off your body. Because it's sitting there in the gap. You're not using that gap yet. Not using the energy in that gap. It's just quiet. Only lasts for a second or two. Sometimes a speck more. If you can lean right into that, you can even meditate in it, meaning watch it. Be aware of it while it's there. It's just like everything else. You're practicing. You're aware of doing this and doing that while it's there. You're not always like that. Nobody is. Whatever that was. And then you watch it, and then you can, every now and then you'll get a glimpse of that flow in you, in your hands, especially if you've been trying to open them, in your brow, in your throat or chest, in your belly, in the gonad center, in the root center. I don't care where it is. You might, because you have a belief system about that stuff, but I don't. Be aware of where it is. That's where you be honest with you. You notice it. This time, not all time, this time it's there. This time it's there. This time it's there. Energy will come to that this time. It'll come to it because it's used to going to everything you do. It's not now you're special because you can do that. It's now you noticed. You're learning. You're beginning again. Then it's a way you could say, I'm beginning again to be aware of a level of consciousness that, or energy that I wasn't normally used to being aware of. You might have had a few little subtle expressions that you might have called really strong during your lifetime. They're not always the same. There are different grades and levels. Sometimes the softest is the most beautiful. Sometimes just a moment of quiet. That quiet is not neglect. It's comforting. It's loving. It's showing you, here I am. And you're talking about the energy, nobody else. Just a thought. It seems that if I can be recognize the somewhat false nature of the beginning of the habit, look at, no offense to anybody. We all come up with views of how we functioned when we're 3, 2, almost 0, 8, 10, 15, 21, 30. Sometimes we get stuck in those things. Get stuck at 14, get stuck at 8, get stuck at 15, get stuck at 17. I can't love anybody because that first love, that was so new to me, and it was it really made me feel good. These kinds of things are normal when you get stuck with them and you spend the rest of your life thinking love is like that. And love is throughout the whole system. And it's difficult because it flows through you at the same time. One kind, it expresses the patterns and objectives that you believe are really important to you, strategies and all the rest, all part of the same thing. Oh, gee, look at that. We succeeded at that. Yeah, really good. Fantastic. But that's not what you're looking for. You're living that. And you're looking also for that flow that helped you do that. Yeah, not such an easy thing to engage in. All of us are learning. Wherever you feel solace in it, and you will feel solace in almost anything new. It's the way it works. When you get close to breaking through into an awareness that moves you into another way of engaging, the first reflex is to move away, find it uncomfortable. Did you hear uncomfortable? Or not as comforting as feeling good about doing something else, anything. And we make that stuff up sometimes. Is it okay? Absolutely. It's the nature of an engaging human being with something that is just not as simple, where we have to do something and let go at the same time. And letting go of things that have been the skeleton, emotional skeleton, mental skeletons, physical skeletons of a relationship with life we call personality. And the presumptions that we have about what we should be like in relationship to how we have learned how to function up to this point in our lives. This is not so simple. So don't make it a good, bad, wrong thing, harsh thing. Don't be harsh with you, but be aware the best you can. And when you see stuff, be okay with saying, whoop, I almost missed that. Oh my gosh, I must do this. Don't worry, it'll come back. It'll slip away. It'll come back. So you can say, yeah, I do that sometimes. Because it's true. Not because it's a slogan of some kind. It's true. You do these things sometimes. People get offended by people saying that they do things sometimes, and they offend themselves by seeing it. And as another defense that we use never to see it. Is it okay? Absolutely. Not ready yet. Not a distortion. Not a negation. Just not ready yet. Is it okay not to be? Yes, next week, maybe tomorrow. Underlying things. Careful. There is a stiffness in all of what we do. And a resentment in our responses. to ourselves. So, how do you deal with your resentments of you? Hmm? You might resent other people. It's one way to do it. And then, fortunately, jealousy is another. Disagreement another. It's a good thing. Keep those disagreements. Recognize when you're jealous. Recognize. Learn. And be okay with you because you're a learner, not a person who's perfect now. None of us are. My heavens. So learn from stuff. Then take your learning and look at it and see if it's memory work. Most of our learning is memory work. Try this. Go inside. Do the memory work. But go inside. Best you can. See you. And be respectful and kind about what you see. Oh, so that's how I interpreted these ways of acting. Oh my heavens. Wow. Boy, that one's going to be tough to let go of. Go slow, little at a time, and watch inside. Look for that flow. You do that, and it'll start showing up. And when it shows up in one place, just say, okay, I saw it there. That's it. Nothing, well, my this is open and my that is open, and therefore I'm more. Yeah. That's the same as we were doing before. Just an idea. When going through the day, I find the old pattern comes out. I'm not sure. I find the old pattern comes out. Oh, it expresses itself. I question the ability of humans to avoid reactions. So do I, Carol. It's amazing because you can see them and you can start laughing at them and they'll still come back. Wow, where did I get that one? Oh, that's Uncle George's way of looking at it. Whatever. The retraining is a long road, absolutely. Why are we so entrenched as a species? Because we love as a species. We love where you don't define love naturally. We love the things the way we do them and our intensity about the need to do them that way. We even search out people who would be more like that. We don't like people who don't like the way we are. All kinds of ideas like this. We're comforted by knowing how valuable we are. It's amazing how astute we are about the things that reassure us that we're okay, and how not very astute we are about the things we do and how they affect others. And our understanding of that flow of spirit, one could say, or that universal flow, or that life force. You see, people have definitions about the words we use. If you don't use the right word, somehow you're diminished by the words you use. I understand this. Same as reading a book. If you don't like the book because they said this sentence, then you don't read the book. So you miss something. Read the book anyway. That's real hard. And as a matter of fact, Some books I haven't read either. And I think that's a good thing, bad thing. How's that? Yeah, we love the entrenchments, Carol, and we just don't notice them because we call those things the right way, the true way to engage. You we can't let them go very well. So take your time, recognize them, see them, little at a time. Notice even when you let them go, they'll sweep back in a cycle, just to be sure. And lo and behold, you will use them in exactly the right place so that it will make you feel just exactly the right way of value because you did exactly that thing. In other words, sometimes some ways are make sense, other times they don't. Having said that, we have no perfect way of knowing when that will occur. We just do what we do the best we can. That's what we do. So this business of looking for that gap, just a gap, it's so simple, but it's so fast, it closes down, doesn't let us see too much. And I can understand this. That gap is filled with loving. It's an interesting thing. Some of us can handle a little bit of that kind of loving. The kind of loving is like this. Oh, hey, Ron, did you notice you just did this? And you weren't paying attention to that flow. Remember, you missed that a little bit. This is so much on your mind, Ron, that you're not paying attention, trying to be aware of that flow. Oh, yeah, okay, let me remember. Above my head, behind me, through me. Oh, yeah, this is on, or that's on, or this is on. Okay, good. Good. And then something else comes up, and you're off and doing this, or you're off and trying to have a cup of hot tea or whatever. And then you're reading a really delightful book. And, oh, okay, just a minute. I'm reading this book, but while I'm reading it, can I just step back a bit, notice that energy is there, and then proceed to the book, reading again. Let's see if I can hold that reading while I'm aware of that energy. And then a little piece becomes really important in your makeup of a personality. And you look and you say, oh my goodness, that's really interesting. Let me see. What was he talking about? And, oh, did you remember on to be aware above your head and behind you? Did you notice that energy when it instigated an activity in that root center because it was really fascinating? Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. I noticed the root center. I didn't redirect it upwards so that energy could be helpful to me. I didn't do that. I forgot. Uh, Okay, next time it'll come around again. Don't worry, Ron. It'll be all right. So you're talking about that gap. Energy will sweep to a place where your focus goes through the gap of you. That flow, where as porous can be, that energy will just link with you. It's energy. That's what you are. Energy links with you, flows through you, engages with those valves that help us to uh, moderate the flow of energy, helps us. One could call that the soul. Many people have that language. That moves and helps you to be able to be where you are at any one given moment. those are just words. The experience of it, the intensity required for a particular way of acting, whether it be soft or whether it be more intense than soft, is movement of those valves. They operate on more than one level. They operate on this level, physical plane stuff, emotional plane stuff, soulless level, mental construct, at least abstractly, I could say on this level, how your personality functions. On this level, you're still moving around. This is your personality, adjusting and taking a different shape so that you can engage with others in a manner that relates to what you believe you need to be like for a purpose that makes some sense to you. If you have an aloof perspective, then you are aloof. If you're aloof, chances are that was trained into you. You watched your parental background, or you needed to be aloof so you could survive in a given situation. So that aloofness is now used to exact a formula in relationship to how others function and relationship to how you function, so that your worth is considered valuable based on that presentation. These things are just, you know them all. You're aware of them to some degree. You may not be conscious of them all, but as we all are, we use them in a way that, relatively speaking, is helpful to us. Hope this is making some sense. Really good question. 2 questions, really good questions. Let me see. Is that tendency to hang on to one's ways helpful to higher purpose in any way? Is this a little bit interesting to me, this question? Because you do not have to be exactly the way you have been all through your life to have that energy use those complex moments of engagement that move through all of you for a purpose that relates directly to helping others. There are significant engagements that you may not use as much anymore because you've decided you don't want to be like that. Okay. This, by the way, moves out of you rather slowly, even though your conscious mind will say, oh, that's all gone now. It's not all gone. It's okay. But energy can operate through that system if you adapt it in even a little bit beyond where your need was to act like that, whatever that was, then that energy can use that system of yours to be helpful to others and help them to move just a little bit so that they engage with adaptation before they even significantly, personally, consciously engaged with it. Because the energy was the thing that helped you engage with it, helped them to engage with it. Not sure that that was perfectly clear. It's a bit like a screen. The old screens that folks used to have on their front door, their back door, in the summertime. Keep the insects out. All around the screen, let's say it's a circle, your personality. If you could call it circular, it's not really, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just an idea. And here is this major, tiny little form right in the midst of that. And here's this form, and energy is coming into it. Now, this is your personality today, not 2 years ago, not 15 days ago, not 20 years ago. But here the energy is flowing through that form, but it's also engaged with the whole screen. It can come in, use a timeline of yours that you may have significantly helped yourself with. A response mechanism, one could say, because that's what Carol's talking about. Operates through there. Your response is not exactly the way it was before, still similar, but not exactly. That shift and change can be, and let's say, operated through to be helpful to others with a very similar difficulty relating to change, or relating to even noticing that that might not be helpful to them. This is another way of looking at these things. So there's no negation involved with this. You know, it's interesting. Some people like reading psychological stuff, therapeutic stuff, because it's fascinating. People come up with ideas that are different, and you consider them, and you're curious about them. I wonder whether that could be true in some cases. It certainly doesn't like true in everybody's case, but there's something about it, just an idea. And they're really close to talking about the impact of you on another. And they do talk about that in some modes of therapy. You, every single you and me and everyone else, has an impact on other people. Same thing. But it's not only related to the personality. It's related to the energy that has been able to operate through you in a moderating manner, as well as an intense or extremely soft manner. And these things happen with or without our knowledge. But they carry with them information about how an individual is, even if the individual doesn't see it. So as you grow, as you tend to see more within you, you tend to see more within others. Where the difficulty begins to raise is you become, as you were before, more often in relationship to defining others. And that can be difficult for others, as well as difficult for you, because every time you practice this, it makes it stiffer and more resolved about being more right than anybody else in the whole universe. Well, maybe. But it's not about the rightness. It's about the nervousness of losing a sense of worth if you don't practice living the way you did before, continually, at least sometime. Because the past way of practicing in your personality was of value to you then, according to that moment in your life. And this moment can be back when you're 10 years old. It could be back featuring time in your teenage years where you felt you were of no value whatsoever. And as an adult, you can't access that emotionally. You can only access the response you had internally. And that response that you have internally is fought against as an adult. And then you become more right than that, because if you're not, that will be terrible. You don't want to ever feel like that again. We're complicated. We're not bad people. So little at a time. And that slow moving through us helps us to see more. I wish I could say it helps see everything, but it just depends. You folks, with you folks, you'll see an awful lot. Some of us won't see so much. Well, I wish you all a very, very good season. I know it's a little bit after 8 o'clock, but I wish you all a wonderful season. And I hope the practice of being aware of energy becomes as valuable to you as it is to me, and knowing full well the degree of difficulty that can construct sometimes. I wish you all well. We're going to meditate and think of your dear friends also who are recovering from some difficulties, and I wish them all well as well. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you on the 7th. Bye for now. And now let's just do the balancing and grounding. And I wish everybody well. Take care of yourselves.